Hello, hello, hello.
Hey.
Hey. Hi. Thank you so much, Jacob, for joining me today. For those of you who aren't familiar, and we are live, obviously, for Facebook and YouTube. This is my show, JH Creative and Friends. I love doing this. This is my monthly episode featuring people in my network that are creative, influential, entrepreneurial. So it just happened to work out that Jacob and I can reconnect for many reasons. And he's super talented. We actually met through Domi. Some of you know that I am a big fan of Domi and have been a member there. Otherwise, I don't know if I would have even met you, really.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we were both at that other place.
Did we overlap?
No, we didn't overlap though. But yeah, I think there was shared experience there.
There was a lot of good that came out of it still.
Yes.
And that was the people.
Yeah, a lot of great people who went through there, and then also through Domi, interestingly enough.
Yeah,
So.
it's hilarious. Yeah, and I know I'm like kind of jumping into things. I still meet people in the Tallahassee community that have not met Domi or been to Domi and met people at Domi, and I'm just like, you have to be there. It's just one of a kind experience.
Understand.
But yeah, no, I mean, a little bit more about Jacob. You have worked for big companies like IDEO and even Adobe, and now you're doing all kinds of things for smaller businesses, but still doing amazing work. He's well known in the Tallahassee community for one of the most talented creatives that have come through. And he probably wouldn't ever admit it and tell you that, but I'm going to say that.
I'm like, oh shucks.
I feel like every time I met someone that came from FSU's studio art program is like super brilliant.
Yeah.
Like, and so I think it's one of the most underrated departments in university.
It is. I mean, it's definitely full of people that are just really willing to just keep working really hard and trying to make something of what they want to bring into the world. So it's a really good place.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about your background and why you decided to major in that. And I mean, because you're from Florida originally, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, from Destin, Miramar Beach area, Santa Rosa Beach, kind of stuff.
Beautiful beach.
Yeah, good place. Very, very like remote almost. I feel like I came from like, I don't know. It's very sleepy place. Now it's not so sleepy. It's
Has a lot
it's
changed?
still pretty sleepy compared to like Boston and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a lot has changed since I was living down there and stuff. But I originally wanted to get in design because people were like, oh yeah, I wanted to be an artist and I wanted to also make money, and that was the way that people have pitched it to me. And I think that goes back to like the millennial stuff that we were talking about earlier. Like, I feel like if you have to try to like you have to be like this commercial person who's like making money, and also this like person who like wants to do their craft and their art, and those things have to meet somewhere. And I think like, and they don't necessarily have to, I don't think anyway, but at the time it seemed like that was what I wanted to do, right? I wanted to be an artist and I needed to get like paid for it, and design seemed like a way where I could combine those two things. So
it's interesting how they pitched it to you, because I mean that's why I laughed, because there's that saying, the starving artist, right? Like, not many artists and creatives can easily make a ton of money. And it's one of those, it's not the easiest, really, right? To monetize doing creative work and doing like big abstract designs that might not resonate with everybody. You know,
Yeah.
there's all kinds of challenges to it.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's also the willingness to be like entrepreneurial with it, because to a certain extent, it's a lot easier now to be, I think, an artist and still make money, because there's just all these new platforms like Patreon and like Ko-Fi and stuff. And if people don't know about those platforms, or like want to like have that be a part of the aspect of their artwork, they don't think that like, oh, what I'm doing is worth something. That's like a big, I feel like for some people it's a big revelation, or like a big thing that they have to grapple with, right? Like, how am I commercializing my art, or like commercializing myself in that way? But I think in the society that we live in, we have to come to some terms with that to support ourselves. So I think I like that those kinds of platforms are creating that, for artists and for people that like might not have the ability to do that themselves. Like not everybody can like make a website and like make like a weird little cart or like a subscription service through like Stripe or something. So it's like it makes it easy for you to do that without a lot of technical knowledge. So yeah, I think that's an
Yeah,
interesting way to
that's what's
think about that. But
it's true. I mean, that's what's amazing about technology these days. It's making it easier for people to actually start a business, creatives to actually feature their work, even sell work. And I know we can talk about this later if you want, but like Web3 is a whole nother thing, and you know a lot more than most people or the average person about that whole space. Like that's a huge opportunity. Um, like I mean, but speaking of platforms like Canva alone, like somebody could actually run a business off of making templates on Canva. They're not necessarily a designer, but it does open opportunity for more people to do that. There's more accessible ways of doing it, creating things. And so one of your favorite tools is Figma, right?
Yeah.
So you know what I'm gonna ask you, right?
Oh
So,
yeah.
so what did you think about the buyout?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think there's a lot of, and I can't say a lot of things that I know about this opinion, um, but I definitely think that there are much more in common with a lot of the goals between both of the companies involved in that, and I think there's a good place for creatives to come out and actually benefit from it. Um, I don't know if I can like 100% agree honestly with like, and this was part of I think every person's like Adobe journey when they work there, is like, how do you feel, um, you know knowing that it is a commodity, right? It's a thing that you charge for, and like everybody in the creative industry has to like sort of pay for it. And so I think everybody grapples with that every day working on those products. And I think, to me, I loved, and I say loved as if it's already stopped happening, but like that was part of the reason why I started using at IDEO Collab back in the day, uh, Figma, because like it was browser based, right? Like that was to me like the big clinch, right? Because when I was at Collab, we had all these corporate fellows coming in from like their corporate companies, and they would have their corporate laptops, and they wouldn't want to pay for an Adobe license, so they would work with them during sprint. They didn't want to pay for like a Sketch license even, maybe, because at the time we were using Sketch for like a lot of our product design stuff, and I had like libraries and stuff to use them. um, and then at the same time, it was like, oh, we actually have different, like, some people were using Linux and some people were using Windows, and then like a lot of us at IDEO were using Macs. And so like there was a ton of like weird like barriers technology wise you had to grasp. And I think the web browser is really like the common, like it is the common place where we can all kind of be together no matter what platform you're on, because you can just open up a browser like Chrome or Firefox or Arc if you use that. I think the the interesting thing too about that is that um, even when we were working in those kind of constraints, it was still free, and I think that's the biggest
That's crazy.
advantage.
I didn't even
That
know
Figma
that. Like
has.
I knew they had free trials. I kept thinking like, oh, there's subscription based kind of thing, and I'd only see a little bit of how you used it and how others creatives used it, but I never really had time to dive in. But
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I definitely think it's like one of the most powerful design system tools that you can actually use for free as an individual. And they just also did the Figma for Education partnership, where basically now I think all Chromebooks have it pre-installed, and you can also have free use of like actual other the paid features if you have like an edu email. So
Okay.
it's a super good sort of thing. I do think honestly that Adobe has a lot to bring to the Figma atmosphere too, just because they are experts in like advanced graphics. Like if you think about Figma, right? Like I'm not gonna like do. Some people do, right? They do like their weird digital paintings with like gradient layers and all that stuff. But it's like you're not gonna say like pull out your Cintiq and like start doing a digital painting inside of Figma right now, because they don't have those specific tool sets, or like doing 3D. And I mean, some people make these like plugins that you can run those kinds of programs and generate those kinds of graphics inside of Figma, but they're not native to Figma, right? So I think that's the big kind of delimiter, is like if you have a collaborative frame, like what's the thing that you can put inside of it and enable those tools to be kind of there. So I think that's what I find really interesting about the partnership.
Oh, so cool. I mean, I don't want to just talk about Figma, because I want to talk about you and your story. Because I'll try to look it up. Like, what does this mean for Figma? What's going to happen with with Figma? Because I saw so many people respond, to the news. I understand it's great, awesome for the founders, for Figma, for doing, getting that. But at the same time, like I've been an Adobe user, whether I like to or not. Like it was the industry. Like that was what we had to use. I paid for like the stuff that my generation had to use the tools that were super expensive, and we didn't have stock libraries like that are available now. We didn't have free fonts. I'm like, how do I make these things? They're teaching me how to make these things, and I'm just like, I wish I could make something like that. Anyways, now it's just like super easy and more accessible for people to dabble and explore. Okay, so like I don't know this story, but when you were here at Tallahassee, is this when you moved? Like the next step was to Boston? Like you got a job there? Like kind of what brought you over there to the Northeast?
Yeah, no, I mean, well, while I was in Tallahassee, I had built up a little creative collective called Foremost, and we ended up building
I
that.
remember that.
Well, at least redeveloping that Happy Motoring gas station down there. And after that project, me and my partner Holly were in kind of a relationship where we were trying to figure out what was kind of next for us, and we were looking at Boston as potential. I was kind of like the only place that I would actually go back to not working for myself. Like I'm like if I would go work for a company, it would be IDEO. And so I ended up getting basically a position at what was called then Food and Future Collab. It was like a food innovation accelerator thing that would become IDEO Collab. It was also already kind of there, basically, because they'd already done like a little bit of like a first round of like blockchain projects at the time, because they started in 2015.
Oh wow!
So I went in at 2016 up there. It was like a collaboration between IDEO, MIT Media Lab, and Target. So we did a whole bunch of projects, and yeah, that was kind of the impetus for moving up to the Northeast. And my partner Holly then went to work at Form Labs, and then also is now at Vistia, which is like her current thing. But
So cool.
yeah, so we kind of both wanted to just get out and work at some larger companies to see where we could get towards, because I think at the time I was very much focused on my own business, and I really did want to see how I could work with bigger clients and get more experience and keep honing my craft. That's like a big part of because I knew that at IDEO that was where kind of like the top crafts people were, right? Of like this is
global award-winning studio for those people who don't even know.
So coming in, I feel like I was already kind of like a little bit burgeoning in the area, and I wanted to like keep honing that craft more. So yeah, that was why I was kind of like, that's the only place that I would go if I wasn't working for myself. So yeah.
Yeah. And then, so I know there was a stint over at Adobe, and then now doing your own thing with contract work
Yeah,
full time.
yeah, I had a few kind of little right now, and that's an interesting thing too. Right now, it's just I've had in the past 2 years, I've had like a bunch of different positions, and it's just kind of because I'm in that place of my career after I was at IDEO for like 5 years, and um, I think from a certain extent, I've been wanting to see what other environment that I can thrive in, and I think from a perspective of how I've found myself through that has been through a bunch of different kind of just smaller engagements with other companies. I mean, I was at the U.S. Office of Surgeon General for a while. I was helping out some other friends that were trying to put together and have put together, and I helped put together a digital innovation group inside of the U.S. Office of the Surgeon General, which is really great. And they're producing some really awesome internal brand and design there. That's I think really bringing the American people closer to the SG. Um, and then after that, I was also doing full-time work for Zapata Computing, which is like a quantum computing company, and really quantum computing technology software company that was basically trying to create a new studio experience for quantum engineers and quantum physicists to create and work with these technologies and the hardware that's constantly changing. And then after, and also, I did do that my time at Adobe, and I think from an ideology perspective, it was great. I think working at a large company was just not for me, and I think in terms of that's kind of been, I think, a pattern through my things because I was like, I don't know how this is going to go. And I think like in terms of culture, I'm very much a person that would rather be, very much in tune with a small team rather than like a very large team and a very large organization. So that's just something that I've learned about myself. And I think everyone will have to do that differently. And I think now with my move to station, there's a real interesting thing where that's kind of aligning with me because I can see a pattern too emerging with like how people talk about when you've had more than like 3 jobs in a year or something. It's like how it looks to people, right? There's like a stigma of like, oh, like is that person not working out of those places? Like what's the like are they like a flight risk or something? And I think that's the interesting thing about how work is changing, right? Of like I can be just as valuable to a company part-time and like be doing a singular project as I am full-time because we're in this digital space that allows for that flexibility, right? Like
Right.
you don't need to be full-time at a company to like bring value to that company genuinely and then also amicably leave. I think that's the interesting part of how work is changing. And so I think with Station, they are a Web3 company that's trying to kind of enable this future of work through a decentralized proposal system. So like I can propose a job to you and you can either accept it or deny it, or I can propose a job to a company for a certain amount of money and they can automatically pay me through that service. So I think like to me, it's like, how are you building this micro community and enabling this new way of working of like, oh, I don't have to be like a full-time contributor to this project. I can just get paid for what I want to contribute. Yeah.
Oh,
So
wow.
I think that's really because it resonates with me, right? Because I see that happening in my own life of like, you know, I think there's the aspect of me working somewhere for like a year, like what does that get me versus like me doing like 10 projects for like 10 different companies in that time.
That's really cool. Yeah, the workforce is definitely changing. I mean, as of 2020, I mean, you and I have kind of known that, like we've experimented with that just because of the nature of our space and our industry and everything. Um, but now people are finally catching on and just seeing like, oh my goodness, we need to figure out what does hybrid look like, what's work-life balance look like for our companies, and how can we take care of our employees. I mean, we have leverage because there's not enough employees. There's not enough of the workforce to meet the demand that's growing in certain industries, right? And so, yeah, completely agree that things are changing. Things have changed already, and what's that going to look like in the future, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've always thought of like there has to be a way, and maybe it's in blockchain. And this is me thinking of an idea. Like it would be cool if people's activity, um, as far as their contribution to a project, or even just like how they influence connections and networks, if there's a way that that contributes to like that person, that the value of that person beyond what is measured in the traditional form, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, and I definitely think that's something else that we're also doing at Station, trying to build this like this sense of reputation that you own, right? So, and in our form of the actual product, we're trying to link that to what's called a soulbound NFT. So basically, the NFT it's a non-fungible token, and basically, it's weird because like when I was talking about NFTs at the beginning, it was like more like 2017, 2018, we were messing around with them in collab, and there was a company called like Rarebit, I think, but we were making some weird like little JPEGs of like totems and making like tiny games with them, and I never expected any of that to like actually catch on, and then like now here we are like 2022, and it's like the fucking thing.
I know, right? And
Yeah,
then
which
it's
is
like
interesting.
artists,
Yeah,
like high schoolers are making millions, or
yeah,
they were, and then obviously some of the more negative press is not helping, but with the
yeah.
scams and everything. But yeah,
There are ups and downs. I think there's the interesting sort of aspect of how you grapple with like a flooded market, and it's just like that is the market flood, right? Like everybody's able to make something, and so they're going to make it, and then somebody's going to profit off of it. And I think that's the difference between how you have to look at like the optics of something, right? Of like, is this a new piece of technology that will help artists make money? Yeah, probably. Will it be misused by like so many other people? Yes.
yes,
So I don't know. I
like the
think that's
Wild
like
West
a
right now,
given. Yeah,
pretty much.
that's just like markets, really. So
Yeah,
yeah. Anyway, but I think the what is interesting about that soulbound NFT is that it's not meant to be something that you sell, right? It's like you mint it, and then it is attached to your wallet that holds it forever. And so like when I'm doing my jobs for these companies and interacting with other people in the community, that is all linked to that NFT. So it's almost like a new form of resume, right? So like I can
oh,
be sowing this new reputation, and everybody can see it.
that's
So
so cool.
yeah, which is really interesting, right? Of like how can I compound and represent my value in a digital way in my digital interactions, right? It's not like this is me. I mean, I think like this is just a representation of like what you are doing in a certain community, right? So I think that's an interesting way to try to start to at least represent that in a way that you own, because like otherwise I'm just like entering that into like LinkedIn, giving LinkedIn the data to then go and make money off of my reputation, right? So like they're like basically being like, oh yeah, these are your first and second degree connections, this is what you've done for this company, blah blah blah. I don't own that. Like and I can't like use that to create value for myself or create like I don't know. So that's
No,
that that's
yeah, that's so cool. So like you said, like all the activity is owned by that platform. And I've heard some conversation on this. I like podcasts, but like I think I heard someone. I think it's called DSO. I mean, it's like decentralized social media
Yeah,
presence in a
yeah,
sense. So it's like you own everything about like what happens in relation to you in
yeah,
a platform, right? Not the platform itself. They wouldn't have control
mhm,
over that. So
yeah,
so you have the control over that, and which is really cool.
yeah. I mean, I definitely think there's a particular one called Lens Protocol that my friend, an old IDR, had worked on the branding for, and um, I really do think that it's kind of an interesting thing, right? Of like, if you have your social media profile, why does it not follow you throughout all other social media platforms? Like you're kind of like representing yourself in many different ways, um, and that is kind of another interesting thing, right? Of like, how do I own my data? And this was like, even, when I was going to FSU, Owen Mundy made this thing called like giving my data back. It was like exporting your Facebook data before they had that as like an option to like do.
Oh,
It was kind of like this big thing of like, oh, how do I think about like my data and my privacy? And like, if I download that, how can I visualize it, or how can someone else visualize it in their Open Graph kind of technology? Because it's everywhere now. Like, it is now built into every single facet of like the internet, and it's kind of weird that you can't like control that or own that. So
yeah.
yeah, I think that's kind of one of the big delimiters I see, at least, of like why DSO is happening right now. Anyway.
It's really cool. And now, I mean, you said you're at station now, right? Like, they have headquarters in New York. Is that what it is? But you're not going to be in New York.
Yeah, no, we're based in New York, but everybody's kind of spread out. Right now, there's people in like Denver, there's people in Seattle, New York. I'm in Boston.
Yeah.
One of my other coworkers was working from Bangkok for like a month last month. Yeah, so we're very much fully remote and kind of functioning in the way that normal remote companies do. Right, we're just
That's
setting
cool.
bounds for ourselves and trying to make schedules overlap when we can.
I feel like that's like the modern way of running a business now. Like, the new business model is completely different from how it used to be.
Yeah,
I mean, at least the ones who are going to be able to scale.
And I'm wondering, it's like to some extent, like, you needed physical space too to like occupy an office and to like have PO boxes and stuff like that. I think like there's definitely value in that, and you should have that probably somewhere. I mean, I know we do, even so
Yeah.
we have it in New York. So like, to me, that was also one of the key things that I thought that Domi also gave, like in sort of like a way, right, of like, if I'm going to rent an office in a co-working space, I can have a physical place that I can bring clients and bring people. And I think from a perspective of now, it's almost like you don't even really, I mean, I guess you do need that to some extent to actually still have a business, but at the same time, those can be actually abstracted out a bit into services and stuff like that now. But still, we don't really need that physical space to be starting something. You can start something right now with the friends you have online, like make a Discord or make a Slack group or something, and suddenly you have a business, you have a team. So
yeah, I see like benefits where you can have that team morale and that feeling of team morale, but then at the same time, like, the real focus happens when you're plugging away and you're in front of your computer, and it's just, and a lot of meetings are a waste of time anyways. So, and then of course you miss the whole small talk, joking, water cooler talk, like the, of course there's a different kind of social aspect to that whole experience of hybrid workforce. But I know we're coming down to the wire here, and I don't know if you wanted to show anything that you'd love to feature. I only had a few samples here that I can share, but what did you want to do anything?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think right now we are, I mean, at least station.express, we're on the verge of actually doing a public launch in a couple weeks. So that could be a thing that is going to happen soon. I'm not 100%
website, right? At least just the website.
So, yeah. Cool. And there's going to be some new content coming on to that website. Right now I really like the little train that I made down at the bottom. So that's a fun little feature on the website that you can play with. But essentially, there will be some sort of live launch soon. I don't want to say the date because I don't want to like tie us to it. But,
I know.
Sooner or later, in the next maybe week, there will be a live launch for making and creating stations and proposals on and to anyone with an address. So,
oh wow.
Yeah, so you can literally just send, proposals to people to either confirm or deny, and as long as you can fund it yourself, they can pay and then execute on that work. So that's something that's really exciting to me.
Yeah, tell me more a little bit, like, because I know some of us, I can speak for myself. It's like grasping the whole idea. Is this Web3, like, this is blockchain? This is going
Uh,
to be,
so that Connect wallet up on the right. Oh
yeah.
well, actually, no. That's really our app is actually a little bit behind, obfuscated right now because it's wait list.
Okay.
But basically, you can think of it as basically instead of like logging in and creating an account, you connect a wallet, and so that wallet can be something like one of the most common ones, and the one that I use even is just MetaMask. It's like a little hot wallet that lives inside of your browser. So they have a Chrome extension, and so you make a wallet that represents you. And so when you connect that wallet into our website, that will be soon live, essentially you can create an account inside of Station that represents that wallet on a community. So all these
Ah,
different so the communities that we're having on here are things that are called DAOs. They're distributed or decentralized autonomous organizations, and so these organizations are, they can represent companies, they can represent brands, they can represent almost anything. Some of them are even just like automated protocols that happen. But these DAOs are then creating communities on Station that will have basically like requests for work or updates on the protocol and like the open source work that's happening there. So really, it's for those communities to then accept work from individuals and contributors that contribute to those communities.
oh,
So, like for
wow.
example, I might be a design firm that has a centralized wallet or treasury that have to fund these projects that are coming in. I could even do it for Foremost, right? Like I have my company, and as long as I had a wallet to fund it, and we can link that to like what's called a multi-sig safe, which requires like multiple people to sign off on the funds before they actually get deployed. So I might have a few trusted people like my business partners be signers on that transaction to say like, hey, there's this new project and I'm going to hire Julia to come work on it, and here's the proposal and what she's going to do and how long it's going to take and how much we're going to pay her. And then me and my business partners can sign off on that transaction, and you will automatically get paid into the wallet that you connected through your profile.
Hmm.
And you can
And
do
then
that with anybody, right?
and
So
this is digital currency, like cryptocurrency, or is this like money?
I mean, in a lot of ways, cryptocurrency is money now. So like, really, we're supporting tokens, custom tokens soon. But I think right now we're launching with Ethereum and also with USD coin. So basically,
Oh, wow.
you can, and USD coin is a stable coin, so it doesn't, the
Right.
value is pegged to the US dollar.
I've
And
heard of stablecoin. Yeah.
yeah. So
Okay.
basically, you could say like, yeah, 5,000 USDC, and that's what you're going to pay me. And we also have advanced payment features, so you can get like 25% or 45% upfront. You can
Hmm.
like, kind of adjust what you get paid upfront, and then what you get paid when you deliver, kind of the final deliverables and things like that. So
My gosh, it's a whole fascinating system that I'm like, because I'm used to thinking, okay, there's cash, there's credit cards, there's the bank, there's
yeah, yeah.
institution, right? Like, so how I'm trying to
Yeah, I mean,
grasp.
if I would think about it in a way that you could get it to money fast, would be to use something like Coinbase Wallet, which also has
Yeah,
a credit card linked to it.
yeah.
So you could sign in to Station using your Coinbase Wallet and use that to associate yourself with your different your jobs and stuff like that. And then once you get paid, or you could even you could transfer that money from your MetaMask over to your Coinbase Wallet, and then that is on that little card. I know Cash App too has like a new crypto card now, I
Mhm.
think, but I think that one only works for Bitcoin, so you'd have to transfer it. But you can also like use different swapping, different like there's like Uniswap and things like that,
Mhm.
where you basically swap currency for currency. So like if I
Yeah.
have like ETH, I could then transition it over to like USDC,
Mhm.
and then from there I could use it on anything that uses USDC. Like I could get a use it on my Coinbase card or whatever. Um, but it
If
just
you're
has to be like it's like a moving of funds essentially.
Yeah. And okay, from a user standpoint, for you, like, it sounds, you obviously have been experimenting with the space, you're familiar with it. So it almost seems like it's like businesses have to accommodate for this thing. Like the future of business, recognizing that type of currency is only going to be better for you in the long term,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I mean, I think that's where I think we should be going. I think whether or not right now, particularly traditional businesses could support that, it's kind of up in the air, right?
Yeah.
If you wanted to be progressive and create like a DAO arm of your company, you can do that. That's like a thing that people do normally, and now it's just a very emerging kind of form of how your business runs. Um, and you can even keep upkeep now. There are services for like filing your crypto taxes and stuff like that. And so entities, companies,
What?
yeah, yeah. I forget what the thing is called. I can find it,
That's really
but
cool.
yeah. So I mean, there's it's definitely something that is coming up. I think from a legal standpoint, there are still stuff to be figured out, and that's something that's what we're actively trying to keep researching, is how like more traditional businesses and not just DAOs could immediately adopt us. So I think
Yeah.
that's kind of a thing that we're actively figuring out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So are you like so involved in the decision making process that you're like, it's almost like your partner, or like at a level where, how big is Station? Like it sounds
Uh,
really cool.
we're fairly small. We're only like 5 or 6 people right now, and
So it's like a startup pretty
yeah,
much.
but yeah, we're fairly small team, but very mighty team, I would say. Um, and we also have kind of these. Station also operates on sort of it's something that we also wanted to try out with other DAOs and things like that, where you have like a full-time contributorship. So I'm like a full-time contributor, but there are also part-time contributors that can work on things for us too. So here and there, we have other, I have people that I work with day to day that are part-time. And then there's also commuters who only do like maybe like once every week or 2 weeks engagement.
Cool.
So yeah, there's definitely different new levels for how people relate to your business in terms of employment, right? So that's a new thing to think about. Really, is like I have my full time people, I have my part time people, I have my people that are just kind of like here in the community that can be around to support us when we need help. And that's why I think really creating that sort of community to then engage those people is so important, right?
Yeah.
And allowing them to engage in that reputation building is super very, very important to your business, because now those are the people that could end up building your product. Yeah.
This is so fascinating. I mean, it's so far advanced that I could imagine as far as, I mean, you guys are obviously like adopting early and getting in there to take advantage of this potential opportunity where it's just going to explode probably. Um, and like you said, like the entrepreneur journey is all about figuring out what it is that makes sense for you. And I've seen how you've been open to the opportunities that have been provided for you. And I just admire you and just respect for what, and I'm going through that right now too. It's like, I definitely don't see myself working for a big company. I don't know. I like a small knit team. I like to be able to be in direct contact with a client, giving them great customer experience, that kind of thing. So you people will have to kind of discover that along the way. And so with your work at Station, and it sounds like, I mean, I can't wait to see whatever it is that you release. It sounds like an awesome one. And I mean, there's so much opportunity with investments pouring into blockchain and Web3 and all of these opportunities that keep opening up. So I wish you all the best of luck. Did you want to conclude with anything?
No. I mean, I think if anything, it's just it's a path. Our life is a path, and our careers are a path that we're gonna have to follow, and there will be ups and downs, and things will change, and you'll find out what works for yourself in the end. So, yeah.
Absolutely. You just got to keep pushing through. And it's a matter of discovering what it is that makes sense. And for anyone who wants to keep following Jacob, you should definitely check out Station and his work and with his team. And also, it looks like he's got his website right here.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Jacob, for your time. I know you're going to have to head out, and I appreciate you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. Good to catch up.
I'll see you either backstage or you could totally just click on Leave Studio and you'll be done. So,
Okay, cool.
Thanks everyone. For those of you, thanks Jacob.
Bye.
Bye. I know that was a sudden end, guys, but for those of you who caught the recording, thank you for trying to watch this. I mean, Jacob is obviously a super talented individual. Y'all should follow his journey. He's on social, and also I can't wait to see what they announce. For those of you who, I didn't want to keep him too long because I knew he had to run. But for those of you who are interested in being on the show, we actually do have guests lined up through November. I'm super excited for my upcoming guests. We have someone from Career Source Florida who's going to join us and talk about all the benefits of training a team member going through their program. And then we also have a guest in November. Her name is Diana, and she works at GitHub. She's going to tell me about her journey of how she ended up there too. I'm super excited. So feel free to reach out to my team. Contact me if you'd like to be on the show. I'm looking for a guest on December. So awesome. Have a great day, guys. Bye.